what we did, we built this company called Vital, and it's taken the traditional e-prescribing process and turned it into more of a marketplace experience for clinicians. And through that process, we just trimmed as much fat as possible. Essentially, went into how do we shorten the time to order as much as possible from a few minutes, and essentially we got it down to 30 seconds. And now we've got a way to get it down to like 5 seconds. But this is the experience that a provider comes into. Vital Plus, this is a new bit, so I won't go into that yet.
And your users, when you say they,
our users are clinicians, so providers, clinicians, and their office admin staff.
Okay.
Basically, whoever is keying in the script is a user. A new channel that we are launching Monday, there's a patient aspect where the patient becomes a user. But I'm going to show you the prescriber office admin side of things. We do have another user that would be the pharmacy, but their operational standards and everything stays exactly the same. We just bolt on. So they would be a user, but they don't actually interact with the platform itself yet. So when a user logs in, they see anything attached to like time savings. If they're using Vital Plus, dollars earned. They can see like recent orders and the status of those orders. They can click into them for a little bit more detail. Where things really come alive is the catalog. So this is a provider doctor that says, hey, I've got a patient that needs a particular medication. I'm going to go here and find that medication, either at the best price for me as a doctor or from a pharmacy that I like to order from because I get good service or whatever it may be. And so they can go in and they can say, okay, I want semaglutide. They can search all the offerings for semaglutide. They can favorite things. They can order. If they have things favorited, they can find them all on a shortened menu. They can view specific pharmacy marketplaces and just see all the offerings specific to that pharmacy without any other extra noise. And then when they go to place an order, so we'll go in here for semaglutide. We'll do this B12 offering. We're going to order it. And we're like, hey, we want to order a single script. So we go in, we select our patient, we select the quantity, we type the instructions that we need for that patient. We designate the clinic, where it's being shipped to, and we set any refill criteria if we so choose, or we can say, no, we don't want to set any refills. Then we hit submit and we're done. So that's it. Takes all of 30 seconds to do that process for a single patient. But where it gets really cool, I don't know why I backed out of that. Let's go back to it. Where it gets really cool is, say I'm a clinic or a prescriber, and I have 30 patients. They're all on the same exact titration schedule of medication. So I'm going to go and select batch, and then I can go and select every patient that's on that same dosage level, write all the instructions, and hit submit. So now I've, in 30 seconds, submitted 30 scripts versus a single script. And so it just continually shortens the time that a clinic or a physician or an office admin person is having to spend to order medication. Vice versa, the pharmacy is now providing greater service to those clinics by creating a better experience or more frictionless experience. And then also through Vital, we've got pre-negotiated rates. So there's a high chance, like 80% or above, that an individual clinic has less buying power than we do and will have better pricing and save a ton of time by using Vital. So that is the experience that we built. I'll pause there if you've got any questions, and then I'll show you like the how I built it.
Yeah, no, this is great. I do have some questions, but I can wait till after you show me.
Yeah. So a big part of what has made us successful outside of just the ease of use is the integrated utilities. So the fact that we bolt on to the pharmacy is a big win. So they don't have to change anything. They can just say like, yeah, we'll adopt it, and it plugs in. All of their operating formats stay exactly the same. There's just a new way that scripts can be ordered. And then on the physician side, we integrate to all the EMRs. So like one of the big challenges I had is like a quasi-technical person, is I needed something like very like webhook and API friendly out of the box. And so what I did, the entirety of this platform is built really on top of 2 utility services. I use Airtable, which I imagine you're probably familiar with. And if not, I can show you what Airtable is all about. And then
Yeah, I am.
yeah, okay, perfect, sweet. So that's what I use for my back end, right?
Cool.
And a lot of the workflow and automated functions. The other tool I utilize is Softer, which is really been how I've been able to develop everything so quickly. It's a no-code front-end solution. And when I say like 95% of their features have developed in the last 12 months, like that's literally been what's made it possible for us to like build really quick, build things that work really quick, and build things that are like somewhat pretty, right? Fortunate to be in a space that the incumbents really make it easy to build something that looks nicer than what currently exists, but it's good enough. And this tool has been absolutely incredible because it handles a lot of like the user logic that we need for sign in and credentialing. It's got like a out of the box solution for that. It makes it really easy to go in and set up different like page formats. And you can go in and customize it all. But like this is pretty much where like all the pages are built, and it's totally no code. You just drag and drop the blocks, similar to like if you were building a Squarespace site, but it's more specific. And then they also have a progressive web app. So everything can be downloaded straight to your device, and stored like an app. So you have some added utility functions there. But this has been a really cool technology that has been kind of missing in a simplistic state. Like there's Bubble, and there's some of these other tools, but like the learning curve for those things are pretty steep. And you still have to have a pretty in-depth understanding of like databases and things of that nature. But yeah, this has been a really great stair step into that whole world.
Yep.
And Softer, as well as Airtable, and you have pretty robust API abilities. So like that's made the integration piece really flow well. But yeah, that is the tech stack in a nutshell.
Cool.
Happy to dive into any questions you got.
Yeah. So great job building all that, putting it all together. Marco said you were wanting a product person. What would they be doing?
Yeah, so basically this has turned into an MVP that's survived too long. This is the best way to put it. Yeah. And so what I really need to do is rebuild it from scratch.
What is it not doing that you needed to do? Like, and is it like a scale thing? Because you're to market, right? You have users.
Yeah, we have users. We've got a pretty good business right now. We will be limited by staying on a system or combined systems like this in terms of speed and functionality. The speed piece seems to not be like a short-term burden, but a long-term burden. What I see being the short-term burden for us is the customizability of the feature set that we need, the machine learning bits that will need to be prevalent in the space.
What's an example of that?
So we deal.
And it's okay if you don't know. I'm just kind of.
Oh yeah. I mean, perfect example, right? So we have rolled out this clinic to patient relationship, and there's a ton of data that exists there that's attached to the patient. It's attached to the prescriber's clinical programming, and it's attached to the medication that's being used in those clinical programmings alongside the patient. A big portion of information sits in lab world. So where a prescriber can order a lab for a patient, and we get full read on all that information as it passes through, where we just sit in the right spot within that ecosystem where we get to see what's being prescribed, how it's being prescribed, the patient profile, and the supporting evidence that's attached to that patient. And that puts us in a really unique position to perform essentially mass market studies on every prescription that's written, so that we can be a market resource for what formularies work well, what price point works well for that particular type of formulary. Is there the ability to create market shifts around medication that works and programming that works? Create different market utility items for the pharmacy, for the patient, and for the prescriber. And we just can't do that if we don't have a reliable way of ingesting information, studying it, and essentially productizing that information. I'm a big believer of data is important, and if you find a unique way to capture a mass pool of information, you don't release that information. You just create toolings and products that are supported by that information. And so, like, that's where I ultimately want Vital to go, and a no-code solution isn't going to be the answer to get us there.
Gotcha. Yeah. Have you seen Lovable or Cursor or Windsurf, any of those?
Cursor, yes. The others you mentioned, no.
Cool. Let's do an experiment, if that's all right, with Lovable.
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. I'm going to take these out so that Lovable can hear you as well. 1 second.
Will you share your screen?
All right. You guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
And share your screen and show him your setup. This will blow your mind, Charlie. If you can do that, CMAC. I don't know if you can log in with your phone and share, but
oh sure.
He's got it's crazy what he's doing. And thanks again, guys, for doing this. Hey, CMAC, did I answer your question?
You did, yeah.
Yep.
All right. All right. I'm gonna mute. Let's see. I'm gonna join, but how to not connect the audio. It's hard to do on mobile.
Or like specific.
You know what? This will be easier. I had sent somebody because they asked a picture earlier of my setup. Let me just pull up that picture and you'll see the same thing here.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay. All right, cool. Now let's hop over to here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
So I'm sitting right there, right? And I actually have a fifth screen here now, like where that drum machine is. Another screen.
You win. You win.
Yeah, that's a setup.
Yeah, so I'm able to. I don't like the word multitask. I don't think it's possible, but I'm able to context switch very, very quickly. And so what I'll do is I'll get things. I'll have an agent running here, and then a meeting there, and then I'm composing here, right? And I can give the agent some instructions, and then it's got to do its thing, but I'm still plugged into the meeting, and then I'm composing still as well, right? You know, but let's do this. Let me share my screen, and let's go this. You're seeing this, okay?
It's loading. Yep.
All right.
It. Lovable.
Cool. So I'm also using an app called WhisperFlow, WISPR flow.ai.
Okay.
And so I use it instead of typing. It'll make a lot more sense. In fact, I'm going to have you talk here in just a second. But I'm just going to read off your website for a second here. Don't talk for a minute and give me a second. I'll do my best, and then we can edit it from there. So I'm Charlie Jordan. I'm the CEO of Vital RX. I'll provide you that URL here in just a second, but it's vitlrx.com. And I want to be the one-stop place where a clinic does everything. So a single place where I, as a clinic, can manage all of my needs. I'm starting with making it simple and quick for me to prescribe medicines to my patients. And I'm doing a lot of the same things for a patient. And so I want to be able to do a single thing for all of my patients, as well as specific things with patients. So what I want to do is I want your help in creating a platform specific to a clinician's needs. And I'm going to provide you access to a database, 503A and 503B pharmacy catalogs. We're going to need to be compliant with regulations. And then I've already developed an MVP of this, so let me give you some screenshots of that, and then I'd like you to go ahead and build this. So it took everything that I just said text-wise, dropped it in there. We're gonna hit go. And while that's loading, Charlie, what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly rebuild what you already have, and then show you how you can go from there and include a lot of the same stuff that you described to me there at the end. Obviously, everything I'm doing is via AI, right? However, it is actually creating a code base with which we'll be able to drop into like any IDE that your development team would use. And so what we would do is just post it to GitHub and then point the GitHub repo to the IDE. I use Cursor or Windsurf because they have a lot of these same tools already built in.
Okay.
And we're waiting on this progress bar here. I wonder if I got too verbose. We'll give it just a second.
What's it built on top of? Do you know?
As far as Lovable itself?
Yeah.
For back end or front end?
It's like back end. Like where's its AI component coming from?
So the AI component is ChatGPT.
Okay.
However, once you get into Cursor or Windsurf or Klein is another one, then you can use their mini models that you could choose from. you know, from there. And with that, let me, it looks like I got two verbose. So let's try this again. And I'm going to do something completely different this time. There it goes.
While you're doing that, I use a lot of ChatGPT Pro for like basically serving as like a backdrop that I can smack balls at. And like that has been such a great utility to just like think through complex issues and learn about workflows that I might not have any exposure to already. At least that's how I've been using it. But really interested to see what this turns into.
So it's creating some mock patient data here for us to play with because it doesn't know, you know, that you have anything, or, you know, it doesn't know that we already have stuff, right? But we'll point it to it, to different and whatnot. So when it's done, it's actually going to be a platform. But then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to attach some screenshots I took while you were sharing your screen and walking me through.
Yeah.
And then we'll see what it does there. So. Marco, is this what you wanted us to kind of get into a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. Wow.
Cool. So we have that, right?
Very cool.
Hey, that's a great start. But let me upload some screenshots for you to use as inspiration. So, and it says, I understand you want to share some screenshots, but I don't see any images uploaded. Once you share the screenshots, I'll be happy to use them as a reference. And then we'll say, here's the first one.
How long has this tool been around?
They launched in November, and as of February, they were at 10 million ARR.
Shoo. Damn.
That's what we want to be.
So it says you shared a screenshot of your existing MVP, shows a clean professional pharmacy catalog interface. Let me enhance our current dashboard to better match the design elements from your MVP while maintaining the core functionality we've built. I'll update the UI to incorporate the blue color scheme similar to your MVP, the clear navigation structure, better organization of catalog prescription items, improved filtering and search capabilities. So like what you're going to do like with this is you're going to use your subject matter expertise, right? That only you have and only the experience that you've had in bringing this product Vital to market to really shape this into what you want it to be.
That makes sense. Yeah.
As well as where you're going. So like reason I asked about, so there, right? It's already closer to what you had, right?
Very cool. Yeah. So you give it a broad brush to paint with and you're fine.
Exactly. And you just I'd like the search functionality to work. So can you make it when I search in the medication search bar that you just give me some well-known prescriptions to work from?
The two questions I have here are back to Charlie's question of scale. right? And then the question of compliance. One of the things I worry about that we, because we're moving fast and breaking things, is that we are going to get a wake up call on compliance somewhere that we're not expecting. So how do those two things factor into Lovable?
Yeah, I love Lovable, honestly, to get from 0 to 1, which Charlie's already done. Lovable is the quickest way to spin up. If I were going to take it from 1 to many, I would just start. I would start with either Cursor or Windsurf, but you treat it the same way, right? So let's see how we did, and then I'm going to show you something related to your question, Marco. What was the name of the medication you were searching?
Semaglutide.
Spell it, please.
SEMAGLUTID.
UTID, like that?
Oh, yeah. Yep. That's it.
I just tried to search. I noticed that you don't have it. Are you sure that you have some of the most common prescriptions that clinicians would search for?
Compounded medication, yes.
What was that? Compound medication?
Mm-hmm.
Are you sure that you have some of the most common compound medications that clinicians would search? I'll say prescribe. And you can read that okay, right, Charlie?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And I'm going to tell it to refactor the index. So it'll give you some like hints and things like that, right? And from a database perspective, it has Supabase built in, which is really convenient.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that is really convenient.
So it's not connected to Supabase now because, frankly, I'm not ever going to work in medicine, and there's no reason to use my Supabase, right? But just so that from a database perspective. And then, Mark, what were you asking? What kind of compliance? You said, is it HIPAA?
I'll defer to Charlie, but I think there's a variety of sort of regulatory that we have to be watching for. Charlie?
Yeah, most of it has to do with like access, right? Everything else is fairly straightforward, but it's more of like limiting who has access to what information and who gets access at all to the platform from a prescribing aspect, and then which pharmacies we work with. So it's more, I would say it's more operational than it is like technological.
Gotcha. Cool. So you can now see like semaglutide, it gives me a few.
Yeah.
Right. And then what would some others be?
We could do tirzepatide.
Okay.
Oh, I think that's on there actually.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Cool. This is coming together nicely. Thank you. What about compliance and regulation? We want to make sure that we are staying well within that. Is there anything that you would recommend adding to this app to make sure that we are in compliance and staying clear of any regulatory concerns. So you can see here, right, it lists out any concerns associated with medicine, authentication, authorization, data privacy and security, prescription safety features such as drug interaction checks, dosage verification, country, whatever, warnings, documentation, record keeping, and regulatory disclaimers. I recommend first focusing on these compliance requirements, implementing authentication, adding audit logging, setting up role-based access control. Would you like me to implement those features? Then it's going to say, go to Supabase, because now we're going to go to an external database and it's going to lock it down.
Very cool. And it does that work even in this external bit as well.
It does it on. You just tell it to do that work.
Yeah, this is a really cool tool.
Yeah, it's great. And so you can keep iterating, right? And so the reason from a product, I know obviously now that you're to market, developing product isn't probably how you want or need to be spending your time, even though it's really, really fun building stuff, right? So getting a product person makes a ton of sense. I would recommend a product person who understands how to take advantage of these tools,
100%. I mean, that's absolutely. And now, granted, I wasn't aware of this particular tool, but that was kind of in line with my hiring standard for that person, is make sure that they're comfortable with AI and the tools that are generating from those resources, because one, it makes you faster. Two, I feel like it produces a higher quality in a lot of ways. So
yeah, agreed. And, just as I'm listening to you, I'm thinking of other things. So I'm just gonna show you a few more things, like you mentioned APIs. You can start to hit external APIs and whatnot, right? So here's I think it would be helpful and convenient for my customers, the clinicians and the physicians, to be able to access the various pharmacies in the area. So I would like to have the ability to search either Maps or Google Maps or something like that, where I can put in a patient's address, or you even pull the patient's address from their profile and then recommend pharmacies that are going to be convenient to them.
Now here, CMAC, one thing worth noting, this is not like a pharmacy like Walgreens. These are very specific compounding pharmacies. There's about 7,500 of them in the US.
Got it. Okay. So scratch everything I just said then, right? Yeah. But what you'll see is it'll then recommend some APIs. And even though you and I are familiar with APIs, if there's a student watching this in the future, you could be like, hey, I don't know how to get that API. Can you walk me through? And it will tell you step by step how to get access to the API.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, I see it.
So it's wanting to use Mapbox, which is great. Mapbox is a good choice. Let's scratch that. The pharmacies that we're dealing with, I've learned, are compounding pharmacies, and not those that a patient would go see. cool. So it's going to kill it, and right.
Right.
And another kind of fun, neat thing that's helpful I found is like, let's say you like go down like a long road. At any point, you can go to the history or the chat, and you can just restore from that version, right? And then pick up where you left off, and it basically creates a branch, there. So
I love that the name it attached to it was Pharmadash, like DoorDash.
oh, Pharmadash, that's great. Yeah, I didn't notice that.
Get yourself a Big Mac and some prescription drugs.
So the only thing I would highlight is that, everything I'm doing here is getting you to what you already have.
Right.
So one of the things I might try, if you were wanting to continue down this road, is, well, let me ask you, with those no code solutions, do you have a repo anywhere?
I mean, I've got my whole back end of basically tables and Airtable, if that's what you're asking.
Yeah. Here, let's ask it. Am I able to point you to an existing Airtable to use as the database? So it's technically yes, but it's saying, hey, like for production, like it doesn't recommend it, right? It's going to say, let's take the Airtable base ID and move it to Supabase so that we can lock it down.
Right.
Which is what you want, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can give it the Airtable base ID, the name of the tables you want to query, the structure of your data, and starting
and then store it.
Sorry.
It can just like feed all that in and store it away, and
yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that isn't clear is that once it has the Airtable base ID, you can tell it, like it's asking for the name of the tables you want to query and the structure of the data. You could say, please use the Airtable base ID and review Airtable to determine the names of the tables and the structure of the data. It'll do it all for you, and it'll create that for you, right? Like, so a lot of times if you see something where it's like, I need this, you can be like, cool, do that. And it's
that's the world we live in right now. Instant gratification has gotten so much worse with the introduction of AI.
Yeah, totally.
It's like, I need it now.
Yeah.
Mark knows. It's what I complain about all the time.
So in regards to, Vital, my only thing is like, I don't want you to have to reinvent what you've already done, right? So what I would do if I were in your shoes, if I were Charlie Jordan, I would start with cursor. And here I can show you cursor. And here, let's just do the same thing. And I just did this. I just did this in Lovable because the UI is much, much better, right?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it looks incredible.
And I thought it would be more helpful for the class to see a less intimidating UI, right? So share window, share this window. Cool. So this is windsurf, right? And this is once, which we don't have to talk about, but I'm going to, if I
can. Maybe we should.
Let's see. I'm trying to, there we go. I'm trying to get out of full screen mode. It's hard when you're sharing your screen. All right. So.
Yeah, it's never the same.
All right. There you go. Cool. So this is what you see when you first go to windsurf, right? And over here, you open up this cascade, right? And then I'm gonna say, I just pasted what we started with in Lovable, right? And then hit go.
I don't know if I'm seeing where you did those actions, but
Oh, I did it on the right.
Yeah, I'm not seeing it either.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Let's try again. Share screen. Share entire screen. Are you seeing it now? You see my mouse move?
it's loading. Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, cool. So basically, I went over here and I opened up the chat over here. One thing to note is you want it to be on right and not just chat. All right, which it is. And so I just pasted what we started with in Lovable, right? And the first thing it's going to do is create where that's going to go. And so now it's doing the same thing, but here we're actually creating a repo, right? So it's going to use Python, whereas before, oh, it is using reactive type to go. Okay, cool. And so this, is a bit more dev-like, right? But you'd be fine with it.
Right.
And so now it's asking for the screenshots, right? So I can drag and drop those.
There's the choice you have to make. Do you want to fit in or do you want to be your own self?
There's the risk that users won't like it. They'll rebel against it. There's, you're using something that's totally new and really has only been out for a few years, like in mainstream. And so, there's a lot of risk there. So it is a balancing act on being the employee versus the rebel in me.